In this video, let's talk about a key player being able to return from suspension, take a look at a couple things Andy Reid said today in his presser, and then take a look at the Chiefs versus Bills game, standout plays, things that can be worked on, and things that did go well, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs, so sub if you're new, hit that like button, all that good stuff, and let's get into this video, starting with a couple of updates from Andy Reid's presser today. First off, no new injuries. Great freaking job there. I like that. Justin Reid was shaken up during a play, had his ankle wrapped, came back out, but it seems like he's fine. So we'll see if he shows up on the injury report or not here later this week. Now, I'm still wanting to know about offensive tackle Lucas Niang, tight end Blake Bell, cornerback Trent McDuffie. When is Niang coming back, and what's that going to look like? I need to know that. They didn't ask him that today, but he should be eligible to return from the PUP list. We'll just have to wait and see. Last I heard, Coach Reid said he's not quite ready, but man, the way that the offensive line has been playing, we need to mix something up. Now, I don't think Lucas Niang is going to come back and immediately replace Andrew Wiley or something, but he is a question mark that I've been curious about for quite a long time. The other guy, Blake Bell, when's he coming back? How's his hip doing? Will he be able to come in and maybe help with the run blocking aspect of the O-line? Obviously, he's not an offensive lineman, but they used to use him in a lot of packages during the run game. Will that help at all? Because the run game continues to struggle, including in yesterday's game against the Bills. So that's a question that I have. And then Trent McDuffie, Andy Reid said today in his presser, they will continue to see how McDuffie does during practice this week, but he will consider playing him this Sunday and not necessarily wait until after the bye, which is the week after, which would give McDuffie even more time to rest up, heal up, etc. But he said if he's good to go this week, they will play him Sunday. We'll have to see. I'm not really sure what Andy Reid and company will do. Sometimes they like to be a little conservative, but we need Trent McDuffie back. Our secondary, we'll get into it during this game, but our secondary could use the boost of morale, that is for sure. And the last thing I gleaned from Andy Reid's presser is that linebacker Willie Gay Jr. can return this week from his 4-game suspension for breaking a vacuum. So, conveniently after the Bills game, he can now come back. Good! I'm freaking glad, because we need this man out there. From here, I want to take a look at an overview of the game, show you some standout plays, and talk about what went well, but what definitely needs to improve. To start things off, Bills' first drive, Snead opened things up with a solid tackle for loss. And I will say, watching Nick Bolton out there in coverage against somebody like Diggs is tough to watch. Willie Gay cannot come back soon enough. I like Nick Bolton. He has been scrutinized on Twitter recently. He's probably the best tackler that we have, but yeah, he looked like he was getting pushed around a little bit yesterday, not making plays that I feel like I've seen him make before. Now, when he gets in the right spot to make a tackle, he's all over that. He's the team's best tackler, but I have seen him get kind of bullied in the backfield a little bit, and then he's obviously not the best pass coverage linebacker we have. That's Willie Gay, so I cannot wait for Willie Gay to be back. Anyway, after the Bills drive down into the red zone, looking like they were going to score early, they fumble on the opening drive and a weird pitch pass to the running back, and he just didn't see the ball. Fumbled it. Chiefs recover. Let's freaking go. Mahomes and Sky on the following drive missed a connect on a quick slant that would have gone for some decent yardage, but I do like the fact that they are working Sky more often, and earlier in the game, Hardman caught a nice 25-yard catch, great route, solid connect, and then had another nice catch and run for 12 yards on the very next play. Mahomes had a crazy sidearm TD a bit later to MVS, his first of the year, but Creed Humphrey was flagged as an ineligible receiver down the field because it was an RPO. And when you're doing RPOs like that, the offensive line have to assume or play it like it's a run. And Creed Humphrey got a little bit too far downfield per the ref. So they took that call back. Then Kelsey dropped a pass in the end zone on the very next play. A tough catch to make, but he could have made it nonetheless. They converted on a key 4th and down via a Mahomes scramble. Then Mahomes threw a pick in the end zone in which he was targeting MVS, who should have come down with the ball, but Kaiir Elam broke off his coverage of Sky Moore and made a great play on the ball. This is back-to-back games, I believe, for Kaiir Elam having interceptions. It was a great freaking play, but gosh dang it, dude. MVS probably should have been able to wrangle that ball and come down with the score. Nonetheless, very costly mistake after the game. Mahomes said, I probably should have thrown that ball away, and allowed Harrison Butker to put up 3 on the board. So bummer there. Big mistake. And when you're against a team like the Buffalo Bills that are that good, you shouldn't make mistakes. You can't afford to make mistakes. You have to be excellent on all 3 phases, or you'll lose the game. More on that in a bit. On the next drive, the D-line is finally able to get to Josh Allen with the help from a Nick Bolton blitz, and 5 players missed a tackle. Chris Jones, Dunlap, Bolton, Karlaftis, who took a horrible angle, and Darius Harris because of Karlaftis taking this horrible angle. It was pretty freaking embarrassing, to say the least. It was also Josh Allen, who's a freak athlete, so hats off to him as well. They end up kicking a field goal, the Bills do, after Justin Reed speared wide receiver McKenzie on a key 3rd down and knocked him into next week. Nice freaking play, Justin Reed. The following drive, Mahomes connects with Juju Smith-Schuster on a play where the O-line holds, and Mahomes moves around enough to have 6.76 seconds. Not a joke. To throw a pass to Juju, who does a great job getting open on the scramble drill, makes a physical move after the catch, spinning off of a tackle and taking it all the way to the house. On the following drive, Frank Clark almost got to Allen on a pass to Diggs, but he was a bit late, just that far off. But isn't that a familiar scene? I mean, come on, man. How many times is somebody from our D-line almost going to get to the QB? That is probably, I'm going to talk about this more later, but that's probably the biggest issue I have with the team right now, is the defense's inability to get to the QB without blitzing help, because it really came back to bite us. Anyway, on the next play, Jalen Watson missed a big tackle on Singletary that allowed for a solid 12-yard run. Juan Thornhill was then called on a pass interference on Stephon Diggs, in which Juan Thornhill did get there a bit early. I mean, it was barely early, but it was early nonetheless. It was the right call, but dang, he just missed that. This set up a 1st and goal for the Bills, in which the Chiefs were able to bat down back-to-back passes. The Bills decided to go for it on 4th down and turn over on freaking downs. The defense stepped up and made things happen when they needed to. Basically, Spags sent the house, and Josh Allen and company couldn't make it happen thanks to a slip by McKenzie in the end zone. The Chiefs had a quick 3-and-out, sadly though, and Tommy Townsend punted a 60-something yard bomb. And fun fact, Tommy Townsend, after this game, got randomly tested for PEDs, which is absolutely hilarious because he's been bombing punts. Anyway, the Bills then proceeded to go 3-and-out as well, giving the ball back to the Chiefs with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left before halftime, and this is where things get a bit interesting, borderline depressing. The Chiefs drive down the field, getting helped out by a couple of defensive holding calls, moving the chains, which takes us to the 2-minute warning. After that, Mahomes throws an incomplete pass, then gets sacked, then nearly got sacked again on the next play, throwing the ball away, draining only 18 seconds off the clock thanks to a Bills timeout. So the Chiefs punt, the Bills get backed up to their own 2-yard line thanks to another great punt by Tommy Townsend, but they were able to convert on a key 3rd and 12 from like the 1.5-yard line, and the Chiefs called a timeout before this play, actually stopping the clock. Questionable call. I mean, the Chiefs were hoping they could get the ball back and were trying to preserve some time, but gosh dang it, dude. They did not. They converted. Then they drive down the field and ended up completing a big pass to Stephon Diggs, then a TD pass to Gabe Davis with Joshua Williams in coverage one-on-one. Spags decides to blitz Snead and Reed, Justin Reed, who get no pressure on Allen, and boom, touchdown, Buffalo Bills. Horrible play calling on this final drive, in my opinion, by Spags in a sense, but great plays by the Bills as well. And with 16 seconds left on the clock, the Bills squib kick on the kickoff, bringing the clock down to 12 seconds, not 13, 12. But we don't need the extra second now, do we? No. McKinnon is able to catch a quick pass for 15 or so yards, get out of bounds. Then Kelsey catches a very quick pass for 9 yards. Timeout called, 1 second on the clock, in which Harrison has a very large sack. Butker strolls out onto the field and kicks a 62-yard bomb, a record for Butker and the franchise. What a statement for Harrison Butker to return after hurting his ankle week 1 and kicking a 62-yarder. The Chiefs drive down the field in 12 seconds, kick a field goal, 10-10 halftime. And on the opening drive of the second half, Sky Moore had a great catch on a 3rd and 9, and then Kelsey had one on a 3rd and 7. But alas, the Chiefs were finally stopped on another 3rd and 7 after wasting a timeout to prevent a delay of game. A timeout that they would need, in my opinion, near the end of the game. And then Butker sadly missed a 51-yard attempt. So he makes a 62, misses a 51, Neither necessarily very easy to make, but bummer. That's 3 points left off the board there. Anyway, the Bills took advantage of the missed field goal and drove easily down the field, ending in a TD to Stephon Diggs with, once again, Joshua Williams in coverage. And off the top of my head, he blitzed Nick Bolton and L'Jarius Sneed on this play, talking about Spags, leaving Joshua Williams one-on-one again. So both of these TDs that have happened, L'Jarius Sneed was the guy blitzing their best cornerback, and they leave Joshua Williams one-on-one with one of the two best receivers on the field. Why? It's because the D-line can't get to the QB, but gosh, dang, dude. Anyway, following the Bills TD, Mahomes hit Juju on a quick slant RPO for 42 yards. Juju was eating. If that was Tyreek Hill, it would have been a touchdown, but he gone. Nobody's as fast as that man. Anyway, they finished the drive with a quick strike to McColl in the red zone. Let's freaking go. On this particular play, the O-line gave Mahomes plenty of time to go through his reads. And look at this angle. What a little dime from Patrick Mahomes, threading it. On the very next drive, linebacker Darius Harris had a clutch tackle for loss on Singletary on third down. Forcing a fourth down, the Bills go for it unsuccessfully. Turnover on downs. The Chiefs turn that into 3 points from Butker after attempting to drive down the field unsuccessfully after an offensive PI call on Kelsey. A bit of a weak call, but I get why they called it. You can't have your arm fully extended out like that. Anyway, Josh Allen was then tripped by Chris Jones on a third down, getting away with a little something for once. I think it should have been called, but Chris Jones gets called for everything else. So for some reason, they didn't call a penalty on Chris Jones. That actually was a penalty, but it didn't matter as the Chiefs went 3 and out after a Von Miller sack on third down on the next drive and had to punt it away. The Bills drive down the field, converting a key 4th and 1, then continue to move the ball past the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter, which Josh Allen takes off, running, leaping over safety Justin Reed. That's going to be on the highlights for a long time to come, sadly. And then shortly after, threaded a TD to tight end Dawson Knox. The Chiefs rushed 4 on that TD play, by the way, and Josh Allen has all the time in the world to make a play. So that's why Spags likes to blitz, because when you have 4 only trying to get home to the QB, there's nothing that happens. It's very uneventful. Anyway, the score is now 20-24. Bills up by 4, 1 minute and 4 seconds left in the game. So Mahomes then gets the ball, right? QB1, let's freaking drive down, seal the game. Well, he misses a connection with Hardman that ends up being negated because I think of a defensive holding penalty, so they move him 5 yards, 1st and 10. Well, on that next play, Mahomes was picked off, which sealed the game. On that play, Mahomes was getting pressured out of the pocket by Von Miller. Then linebacker Milano, who was a QB spy, was sprinting into Mahomes' face, in which caused Mahomes to delay his pass to Sky Moore, and that was picked off. It was beautifully jumped by the Bills cornerback, and honestly, pretty smart play calling by Buffalo. Basically what was going on, they had man coverage called on the left, then zone on the right. So Mahomes thought Sky won his route in man coverage. He did, but the other side was zone, and they were looking at the eyes of Patrick Mahomes, and that's how the route was able to get jumped. Mahomes was able to be picked off, and that's all she wrote for this game. Well played by Buffalo there, fooling even Patrick Mahomes. A disappointing loss for Kansas City at home, to say the least. Now, not the end of the world, but it could matter near the end of the season for playoff standings, who gets home field advantage, and all of that. You would not really want to play the Buffalo Bills on their home turf, but it is what it is if that's what it comes down to. Last year, after all, the Bills beat the Chiefs, I think 20-38 in the regular season, and Chiefs got home field advantage anyway, so we'll have to see how it goes. A couple interesting stats from this game. After the Bills fumbled and Mahomes threw that INT, this was the first time this century that each team turned the ball over in the red zone on their opening drives. Crazy fact. As far as snap counts for just a couple people, Sky Moore had 20 snaps on offense, so he's starting to see a little bit more. Isaiah Pacheco had 10, and so they're starting to work the rookies in a little bit more. Ideally, we worked them in even more. Yes, please, and thank you. Some takeaway notes. Starting on the defense, Chiefs' run defense has struggled pretty mightily in the last 2 games. They gave up 125 yards to the Bills, who are not known for their running strength. And then the week prior, they gave away 154 yards to the Raiders, the Chokeland Faders, the 1-4 losers themselves. Their pass rush has struggled as well, talking about the Chiefs. Most of the times When the Chiefs rush 4, nothing happens. Josh Allen could basically sit there and play Madden, or roast marshmallows, or do as he pleased, such as point to receivers and tell them to go this way or that way with his hand before throwing passes. It's freaking crazy. So that is probably the greatest struggle I've seen for this team right now. They cannot get to the QB to save their freaking lives without blitz help. So to try to make up for it, Spags sends anyone and everyone into blitz. And again, those 2 TDs on the TD to Davis. Spags blitz Snead and Bolton, leaving Joshua Williams one-on-one with Davis. Then, on the TD pass to Diggs, Spags blitz Snead and Justin Reed, leaving Joshua Williams one-on-one with Diggs. On both plays, he blitzed his best corner, leaving rookies one-on-one. Why? I don't know. Ask that man, please, for me, for the beard, for everybody in Chiefs Kingdom. Ask that little man, Spags. I think he's like 5'8". Anyway, offensive notes and takeaways. MVS had a quiet game, though he did have a TD that was called back on a penalty. Outside of that, near crickets. Orlando Brown Jr. allowed 7 pressures to the QB yesterday, which is a career high. Among tackles, only Greg Little, Joe Noteboom, and Matt Pryor have surrendered more pressures than Chiefs franchise tagged Orlando Brown. And then, both Orlando Brown Jr. and Andrew Wiley are both in the top 5 in terms of pressures allowed to the QB. Now, to be fair, some of the teams that we have played so far in this season is probably some of the best D-lines you'll ever face. And I think in the back half of the season, the Chiefs have things a little bit easier. So we'll have to wait and see if things even out. But so far, Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown Jr. have definitely been on the struggle bus, as they have been playing some straight-up athletic specimens. You have people like Max Crosby, Von Miller, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and the list goes on. So hopefully they get a little bit better. I would say that's my second biggest concern outside of the D-line would be the O-line, specifically the tackles. And I also think the O-line is not meshing, not blocking, not doing things that they should be doing well enough to allow for a more productive run game. And so hopefully this gets addressed. I don't know if the Chiefs make some move before the trade deadline, but it's worth considering possibly somebody for the D-line, because that's why the secondary is continuing to struggle, because the D-line cannot get home to the freaking QB. So then Spags blitz multiple people, and then obviously if the blitz can't get home in that situation, people are left one-on-one, and QBs are taking advantage of that and abusing it. So got to do something there, in my opinion. And then a note on the special teams. This is the 3rd game in a row I believe that the Chiefs have missed a field goal. It might even be the 4th game in a row. We need consistency back. And I know Harrison Butker has been out, and we've had backup kickers coming in, Amendola, then we had Matthew Wright. And so now that Butker is back, hopefully consistency comes back into the rotation on field goals. But even Butker yesterday missed one. That's 3 points left off the board. The TD that Mahomes should have thrown, it was an interception. That was 6 points, 7 points. If the PAT was made off the board, there's 10. So these are just little mistakes that when you're playing a team as great as the Buffalo Bills, you have to do very well on all 3 phases of the ball. You miss a field goal, you throw an interception in the end zone, boom, game over. Now, even with those mistakes, the Bills looked beatable, and it was down to the wire, down to the last drive of the game. The Chiefs had a chance to respond and even win this game. Editor Cole here to elaborate a little bit on what I mean when I said the Bills look beatable. It's because everybody says how good the Bills are. They're first in the power rankings. Everybody predicted the Chiefs to lose, and while they did lose, it came down to the very last drive of the game. Many people were predicting a Bills blowout. Did not happen. The two are closer in terms of skill and overall talent than people would like to admit. And second, I feel like I was a bit harsh on Coach Spags for his blitzing. I realize that blitzing is high risk, high reward, and the reason why he has Snead blitz is because he's so good at it. He has 3 sacks on the season, we know that, but again, high risk, high reward. You have all these injuries in your secondary, and then you're sending Snead to blitz while you're leaving Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson out on islands. It's just a little bit crazy to me. From here, let's look at some of the game stats from Chiefs and Bills. Patrick Mahomes, 24 for 40, 338, but 2 interceptions is a big one. He had 2 TDs, but Josh Allen, man, no interceptions, 3 TDs. I mean, incredible. Singletary rushed for 85 yards. on the Buffalo Bills side. Meanwhile, over here with Chiefs, you have CEH 9 rushes for 33 yards, a 3.7 yard per carry average. Then the second leading rusher is Patrick Mahomes, 4 for 21. So yeah, while the Chiefs have 68 yards, you remove Patrick Mahomes and it's like 47. 47 yards rushing is not going to cut it, man. The Chiefs got to figure it out. You got teams putting so many people in the backfield, light boxes. I mean, dude, you have to establish the run game, and it's definitely been an issue. Now, a bright note, Juju Smith-Schuster, who I predicted to have a good game because he's very good against zone-heavy defenses, which what the Bills predominantly run, he had a freaking heyday. 5 receptions, 113 yards. He had 5 targets, by the way. So every time Juju was targeted, he came down with the ball. You got to love that. Travis Kelce had 8 catches for 100 yards. So you had 2 receivers over 100 yards yesterday, which is good news. I think we need a third. And again, Mahomes continues to target around 9 people. I think you had, 7 people or so catching passes. So Mahomes is continuing to spread the ball all over every which way. Nick Bolton continues to lead in tackles on the defensive side of the ball. He had 13. Josh Williams had 9. Snead had 8. Chris Jones had a sack. He was the only one, and it was that tripping call that got missed and probably should have been a flag. So they could not get to Josh Allen when it mattered. There was a few plays where he could have definitely been taken down, but he's a freak and was able to scramble out of the pocket and make yards out of it. So overall, my thoughts: the Chiefs defense played well. The key to victory that I gave was that the Chiefs defense just needed to stop Josh Allen and company on a couple drives, maybe a third. They did that. They stopped him on 4th down and goal. They stopped him on another 4th down later in the game. The fumble happened. That's 3 there. They got him to punt, I think, a couple times as well. So the defense did their job. They held the Buffalo Bills to 24 total points when they're average scoring 30. The Chiefs defense did their job. Now, obviously, we talked about the blitzing, Spags kind of leaving Joshua Williams on an island. That needs to be addressed. The D-line needs to be addressed. But overall, I think the defense had some bright spots there, so I want to end on a positive note with that. The offense, while it did have some flashes, when Patrick Mahomes has the ball in his hand to seal the game on a game-winning drive, he's got to deliver. Now, he got fooled on their coverage, and again, Von Miller got to him. He had a QB spy rushing. So I understand that sometimes Mahomes himself is going to get fooled and make mistakes, but when you have the opportunity to drive down the field and put the game away, you got to freaking do it. So we take the L. Bills got the better of the two teams, made less mistakes, and won by 4. Hats off to the Bills. What else can you say? I'm not going to blame refs. I'm not going to blame this or that. The Chiefs did not execute as much as the Bills did, and they won by 4. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below on the game. Are you optimistic about the outcome? Do you think, hey, the Chiefs had backup cornerbacks in and still held the Bills to 24 points? Let me know your thoughts on the performance on all 3 phases of the ball: offense, defense, and special teams. And let's fight about it down there per usual. Make sure to leave a bearded comment or super thanks to potentially be featured in an upcoming vid. Sub, like, you know the freaking deal. Then check out this video here, pew pew, which is a video YouTube thinks you're gonna like. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?